Hello, my name is Frank Toscano, and welcome to our presentation, Facts on Fire. Today we're going to talk about Memorial Healthcare. Now, Memorial Healthcare is a hospital that has spent a significant amount of time setting up and implementing their interoperability solution. Their desire was to basically reach out to their community and all of their healthcare partners and exchange data securely and in a way that could help improve patient care by bringing all of the data back and forth in a seamless manner. They ultimately were not able to address fax. And the challenge around that was they found 35 to 45% of their partners still relied on fax technology to exchange data. And as that transaction came in, they realized that the paper they were receiving often got misaligned to patients, did not necessarily get entered properly, and caused increased costs by additional tests and other factors that just drove up poor patient care. When they first came to us, they ultimately wanted to digitize their faxing. And most people know Consensus Cloud Solutions from our eFax brand, which is known worldwide. So we solved that problem for them, but they still had to rekey the information. As we continued to work with them, we offered solutions that allowed them to be able to take those faxes and convert them to extract data in a structured format and have it delivered into their back end via HL7 or FHIR or even a CDA, depending on their workflows. This improved their process and allowed them to continue to exchange data with their community partners without having to change their technology. Our example today will be on a dentist's office working with the hospital. And I would like to turn it over to Bronwyn.
Hi. Well, thanks everyone. We're going to be talking today about Walter. And Walter is our patient, and he's actually going to go to his dentist today. Much like all of us, we go usually about 2 times a year just to make sure that our smiles stay beautiful. And as a part of that process, they're actually going to go ahead and do an x-ray. For that x-ray, what they're going to do is that dentist is going to actually notice that there is something unusual in the upper right jaw of Walter. The dentist is aware that that actually means that they might have oral cancer, and that's concerning for the dentist. However, because they are a dentist, they aren't able to actually do the biopsy to confirm whether or not that can happen. That's actually an oral surgeon. So they're going to need to be able to get Walter from the dental clinic all the way over to Epic and be able to go to our Memorial Hospital that Frank was chatting with you about. So because of that, what we're going to be able to do is translate all of that information from a fax document all the way to a structured document that you're going to be able to see within the Epic system. Now, for that dentist, today, without actually using any of this technology, what he would do is use an actual fax machine, send that document over to a hospital, and hopefully get a response. The other option, which actually is very common, is they will print that out, they will manually write a little arrow on it, and then what will end up happening is they'll actually hand that over to Walter and tell him, please go to a hospital and seek care. That is bad for the patient, that's bad for the dentist, and that's honestly bad for the hospital, because what Walter ended up actually doing was going straight to an emergency room and saying, my dentist says I need help, help me. That's not how we want care to be treated in any capacity. So because of that, the community of dentists, the community of health have actually been aware that Memorial Hospital has been more responsive since doing this transformation of their technology. Because of that, the dentist is actually going to go ahead and say, what the heck? It has to be better than what I'm currently doing. I'm going to fax over to that fax number, that referral number that everyone's been talking about, and maybe I too will get better care and better support from the community around me. So Monique is going to be able to show you exactly what that looks like from an eFax perspective.
Thank you, Bronwyn. So Memorial Hospital uses eFax Messenger. And eFax Messenger is a desktop application that sits securely behind the firewall and is used for both clinical and non-clinical applications. So anyone can use this to send a fax or to view faxes. And in this case, a referral representative is looking at incoming faxes and sees the referral sent in by Walt's dentist. And let's take a quick look at how that fax looks. So as you can see, in the fax you have all the patient demographic data, and it has some information about their current medical problems and allergies. Now, this in its current form is excellent, but what we are going to demonstrate in the next step is how this key content, the demographic data, the medical problems, and allergies can be extracted out to convert this unstructured document into a structured format. And Bronwyn is going to illustrate that.
So I'm going to be happy to talk a little bit about what our product Clarity is able to do to this fax. Do you mind helping out with our demo for a moment? Yeah, you. Thank you for coming a little closer. So, sir, can you tell me what the patient's first name is?
Walter,
Right. Can you tell me what their DOB is?
10/19/1958.
Oh, wonderful. How do you know that?
It's up there on the paper.
Oh, that's true, but I don't see DOB anywhere.
I see birth date.
And you know that DOB means date of birth, and that means birth date?
Yes.
Thank you for confirming that your intelligence isn't artificial, and neither is ours.
I'm glad
Thank
to
you,
help.
sir.
Yes.
Thank you. What he was able to demonstrate for us is exactly how humans inference, and this is exactly what we do with Clarity. Clarity is an artificial solution, artificial intelligence solution, similar to things like ChatGPT. It's using machine learning, natural language processing, artificial intelligence tools, but we're using it on a document rather than just generated data. What that allows us to do is use context to understand what this document is doing. So rather than saying that it must have date of birth, if this was a searchable PDF, you would have to find date of birth somewhere in this document. But instead, we're able to know that birth date, just like that gentleman was able to identify, actually means the same thing as date of birth. This means that we're able to treat this document just like a person, and this is very, very new technology. The other thing that's important about this is that typically back in the day, first name and last name needed to be in particular locations. That's how this kind of technology was trained. Not anymore. We're able to infer things just like a human would be able to by saying, I'm looking for the concept of first name, and I'm going to search around that information to be able to find Walter. This is extremely accurate, and actually we're able to even provide confidence scores. If I had asked that gentleman, how sure are you? He'd probably say pretty sure. But that is not system readable. Systems like numbers. So if I'm able to tell you with confidence that I've got a 90% certainty, or 95% certainty, or 98% certainty, it makes a huge difference. Systems like predictability. So the same way that I asked that gentleman, what was the patient's first name? You're going to be able to see on this right side, we're actually using structured JSON to give that context to the next system. We're utilizing artificial intelligence to help our next systems actually be more effective. So here, we're going to tell it that we are pretty sure, very sure, that the first name of this patient is Walter. Now that we've structured all of this information from their demographics, to their medications, their problems list, to their allergies, we're going to hand this over to Conductor to structure it even further.
Thank you, Bronwyn. Here we see Conductor, our integration engine, and this will take not only JSON, but any other message format and change it to whatever the receiving system prefers, as well as connecting through any application in a healthcare system. In this case, we're taking JSON from Clarity. It has extracted data from the PDF, the fax, and turned that into a predictable structure that we can then use to create a FHIR message. We're using a specific FHIR application that Epic is hosting, so they have a Smart on FHIR app for patient match. We use that to not only confirm that Walter is a patient within Epic, specifically Memorial Hospital System, and we can pull back additional data to make sure that our message is in fact something that Epic can then later use and confirm that Walter can be matched up appropriately. From there, we reach out to other third-party libraries, RxNorm, SNOMED, for example, to further enrich the data. So we can take an entry like penicillin and transform it into penicillin G, which is something that Epic and RxNorm can actually utilize and create a code around and insert that into the message that Epic can then use. With that, we create a CDA and attach a PDF file of the fax that was originally used to create Clarity JSON and attach that to an XDR format. We send that over to Epic based off of their preferences.
I think that it's important to understand exactly how important what Ashley was just describing is being able to make sure that similar to how a person confirms content. So I'm sure that all of you have tried to spell something before, and if you weren't able to spell it, then what you actually ended up doing was searching for it. So every time I want to spell interoperability, I'm going to put it into Google and make sure that I'm spelling it correctly. That is confirmation for me to be able to put it back into my document and make sure that I'm spelling interoperability correctly. That is exactly what Ashley was just doing. She is using publicly available libraries, even though we said that it was penicillin. Penicillin doesn't exist to a system. In systems and libraries, it's penicillin G. So by Ashley doing that, now when we ask Epic, we have penicillin allergy, Epic will understand that because it's spelled correctly. So even though to us we can understand the difference between date of birth and birth date, Epic system is looking for particular terms. And so we're helping increase that confidence rate that when we share that information over to Epic, it's actually going to deliver and arrive in that chart appropriately. And E is going to show you a little bit about how that's actually done.
So in this demonstration, I will be pretending to be an oral surgeon that is in the hospital that is using Epic. In this case, I have heard that I have Walter Hicks, who is referred to by an outside organization, and I have his chart pulled up. And over here, you can see the two documents that came through. One of them is the continuity of care document, and there is the PDF attached to this document right there. So I'll go ahead and click that link and have the PDF pop up. And as you can see, it's the exact same thing that we faxed through. It has the demographic information that we use to patient match to Walter. It has insurance information, medical history, and then down at the bottom we have discrete things like allergies and current problems. And this can be seen also on the continuity of care document. For example, allergies is right here at the top. If you click this link that says reconcile with patient's chart, this will take you straight to the patient's chart where it says he's allergic to penicillin. Click the plus, add it to the chart, and now it is fully this hospital's information discrete and attached to the patient.
So that was a really good demonstration of exactly how this looks inside of the Epic system, but I think that it's important to understand why is this so important. This is how we demonstrate interoperability, and it looks like it's really seamless, but oftentimes people ask, why isn't it working this way? The reason why it's not working this way is because of unstructured documents, not only fax ones, but PDFs, as well as other sort of unstructured documents like even voice to text. Thinking about how much that's used in healthcare is important. So as Consensus, we're actually a company that's been in Califax for over 25 years. We're aware of why people are faxing. The assumption is that it's coming from outside sources, which in our use case is absolutely true. It's coming from that dentist. That dentist is not going to be adopting FHIR in the next 5 years. But Epic systems are expecting and hoping and want that system to be using FHIR. You need that in order to be able to meet your quality measures, be able to meet regulation. All of that's really important. So how can we try and make that a little bit easier on them? It's by using technology. So even if you want to spend the past 20 years convincing your community to stop using their preferred modality, it hasn't actually made a bunch of difference yet. They're really, really interested and like the networks that they have. So instead what they do is they're actually going to tell you, I'm not going to use you as a referral partner anymore. I'm going to print something off and I'm going to give it to you. And even more interestingly, when we actually looked at who our users are, it's not just these community providers. It's the big hospitals as well. It's Epic systems. When they hit a point of friction in your use case, when they hit a point of friction in their work, they're looking to save patients. They're looking to make their life a little bit easier. We all know that there is a big problem with staffing and burden and burnout. We want to be able to make that a little bit easier on them. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to use technology to kind of make that an easier transition for them. That way you get something that you're expecting and those providers get something that they're expecting. So using this as an example, if that dentist had just sent a fax to Epic, what would have probably happened?
So we would have gotten a fax, just a plain old piece of paper, and that paper would have been in some fax machine somewhere in the hospital that someone had to pick up and get it to many different places, like billing is involved, the oral surgeon himself is involved, themselves is involved, and you need to get it to all these people, and these people need to enter that information discreetly from that into their system.
So how long would that probably take?
Could take days, could take weeks even.
And that's assuming that there wasn't any drop in that workflow. That's one of
Yes.
the things that's really unfortunate about paper-based workflows, even though folks absolutely believe that a lot of their business is all using this structured data back and forth. The reality is they actually have two workflows. They have that one, and then they also have the secret workflow where their staff, whenever they hit a point of friction, go, I'm just going to print it. I'm going to hand it to that patient. I'm going to make it available for them to be able to keep going, and it's going to be my outbound ease of use and not my inbound problem. And so what you're describing is how difficult it could be to take one of those pieces of paper and actually ingest it back into your system. So even when your own staff have printed something out for someone to sign, to print something out in order to have them confirm it with their family and bring it back. If you've given them forms that they need to look up information for and bring back to the hospital, you now have staff that have to create that workflow. You have staff that have to now manually enter that, and that means there's a delay in how that information is actually available to your billing team, to your clinicians, and overarchingly how you're utilizing that EHR. There's an assumption to your providers that there are two different workflows and two places to look, and that's not what anybody wants. So using this idea of that was how a fax would have been treated, because we just put this little bit of extra technology in it. We added a cloud fax solution, we added like moving it from being a fax to a printer to a fax to a computer, keeping it digital, then moving it into Clarity, which gave it some extra structure, then putting it into Conductor, which even structured it further to your preferred format. Is there a different, like, how do you handle that message now within the EHR?
Yeah.
And especially in comparison to like if that had been sent from another Epic instance, for example.
Yeah, with that, it's immediate instead of going through that whole long workflow structure, and it's just a click of a button from an outside organization.
And that means that now we're going to be able to have a provider immediately see that record. They're going to be able to reach out to Walter. Because I think something that particularly hurts me about this one is that Walter is now kind of alone. They're expected to go do that work by themselves, to go and advocate for themselves. I don't know what's wrong with me, but someone said that something might be a concern. And they don't know how to advocate for themselves always for that. I want to make sure that the system is able to support them to get the care that they need. And by enabling this information to get to the right staff members at Epic, now Epic is able to do what they want to be able to do, which is support their patients and their providers. So I love the partnership that's here that allows us to take, as far as those providers are concerned, they're using their same workflow. They have not changed anything. They just think that this Epic provider is fabulous and is responding. And then on top of it, that Epic is going, wow, all of the dentists adopted Fire. That's amazing. I don't know how that happened. I wish everyone would do that. But now they're able to accept it the way that you'd like to, and there's no more of that duplication of effort. There's no lost documents, and it flows into the workflow that's preferred by you guys. So with all of that, I think it's really important to understand how transformational this is, and we want to thank Epic and Consensus for participating with us.